Welcome to tonight's event. My name is Arianna Dagnino, for those of you who don't know me yet, and I am the Cultural Events Coordinator for the Dante Alighieri Society of BC. Our society is a non-profit organization whose mission is the promotion of Italian language and culture. So I really encourage you either to become a member of our society. The yearly membership is only $30, or just to make a donation to our society for the events that we offer and produce. It's thanks to your support that we are able to provide this kind of events. We also offer Italian language courses through our Italian Language School in Vancouver, the Dante Italian Language School in Vancouver, and we offer all the courses online via Zoom. From beginner level to advanced level, we have also conversational Italian and also Italian for tourists in preparation for when travel will still be possible. I would also like you to mute yourselves so that we can all hear clearly Francesco for his presentation. So let me introduce tonight's speaker and the event. Tonight's speaker is sociologist, Italian sociologist Francesco Morace, who will talk about the Italian way to design thinking from the Renaissance to the Italian factor. And he will explain us what the Italian factor is and what it means. And let me just say a few words about Francesco. He's an Italian sociologist and writer, and the founder of the Future Concept Lab. Can you please mute yourselves so that we don't hear our voices? Thank you so much. Okay, let me just mute some of you. Okay. He's a consultant for Italian and international companies and institutions. Among the most established trend experts, he has been teaching social innovation at the Politecnico of Milano and culture and lifestyle at the University of Trento. He is the director of the Festival della Crescita, which in Italian means the Festival of Growth, which is an itinerant event that each year brings together citizens and institutions, companies and creative students and professionals all over Italy. He is the author of 20 books, including Il bello del mondo, The Beauty of the World, and La Rinascita, the Renaissance of Italy, La Rinascita dell'Italia. So without further ado, join me in welcoming Francesco to this virtual podium. And let me just point out the fact that Francesco is live from Milan. It's 2 a.m. in the night, or in the morning, if you want, early in the morning for Francesco. So we are really thankful that he was able to be here with us at that time for him in the night.
It's a pleasure, Arianna. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much to invite me in this very nice and brilliant community of people interested in Italian culture. And I hope to give you some unusual touch of this knowledge. It's clear that in 1 hour, it's not so easy to synthesize the Italian factor, but I will try to do. And I want to start from the title that I chosen for this event. So from the Renaissance, because in Italy, we have this kind of background, but the problem, and I repeat frequently this to my students, that frequently we don't understand so much how the Renaissance background is important for us and for the Italian culture. And we will arrive to the Italian factor, that is an invented expression that I invented because I don't speak so well English. So when I don't know how I can explain something, I invent some expression. So Italian factor is invented, but is the idea that we have really to understand Italy through a completely different perspective. We are, as Italians, we are ambivalent. So the Italian culture is full of stereotypes, as you probably know, but starting from these stereotypes, we can also understand the values of the Italian culture. So I don't want to reduce the Italian culture to the stereotypes, but I want just to start, because probably if I say pizza makers or Latin lovers or mommy's boys, etc., you can understand, because this is frequently the perception of the Italians in the world. And what I want to do as a sociologist is to start from these terms and present you some values. For example, the handcraft talent that we have in Italy. So we use our hands in a very particular way, also gesticulating, and I do it a lot. I am from Naples in the south of Italy, and we use our body to express ourselves. And this is part of our culture. The body expression is very important for us. And if you think about the theater, so the Italian theatrical way to express ourselves, this is part of our genius loci. Genius loci is a Latin expression that I will use frequently, meaning the talent of the place. So genius loci, and we are, as Italians, part of this culture where the relationship with our regions, our typical products, or our city is really very, very important. And the convivial sense, the family focus, the individual challenge are other values that we can consider if you want to understand the Italian touch. But the best way to understand now is to follow this video that I selected for you, because in this video, you can combine these stereotypes with some characteristics of the Italian production. This was used some years ago from the Ministry of the External Perception of Italy. So it was created for people outside Italy to understand better what we are. And you will see that the common passions are probably the most interesting background to understand Italy. And also the claim, extraordinary commonplace, I found that was a brilliant way to describe Italy. So we can see all together this video. So I found really interesting because in this video, you have the Italian touch, you have the Italian factor, but you have also this combination between stereotypes, the common place in terms of the common idea that outside people has of the Italian culture, but on the other side is explained very well the talents that we have. So it's a sort of magical mix. Italy, for this reason, is so unique as a country and as a culture, because it's a mix between qualities, talents, and skill, but on the other side also of weakness, because some attitudes, for example, the relationship with the common good, or that we don't follow so much the rules or the laws. So in Italy, when we decide to do something, it's always a sort of personal decision. We don't accept so much the institution, and this is a big difference compared with the Anglo-Saxon countries. So for this reason, it's a sort of mystery, a little bit as the Gioconda smile, no? That is beautiful, but on the other side is really a mystery, something that is very difficult to imagine. And if we start from this perception, we can also understand how the intuition and the inspiration is part of the Italian factor. So it's very difficult to define Italy in logical terms. We have to feel, we have to create a relationship, and we have to play the game in some terms. And we play the game in very different ways. And for example, we give a big importance to the improvisation. So the idea to react very quick in unexpected ways. And this advertising from a big company, Italian big company, explain exactly these Italian characteristics. So to react, to create a situation in a completely unexpected way. And I decided to show you this video also because the time is the same that now we have. So it's 3 o'clock in the night, now is 2:20 minutes o'clock in the night, and I found nice to create this kind of combination.
San Pellegrino, live in Italian.
So live in Italian, but also Italian way, also Italian touch. In the center of our culture, you can find all the time the human dimension, the human values. So for example, 3 people in a completely different situation in Shanghai during the night with the same idea, they meet, and in a couple of minutes they create something completely different. No, this idea to create the value through the relationship is part of our culture, and always is the daily life that for us is so important, and the human value that can be considered a variable of the Italian factor. And starting from this dimension, we can understand some other talents. For example, we live the globalization in a completely different way. You can flip the slogan, no? Think globally, act locally, because in Italy, we do exactly the opposite. So we think locally, we feel ourselves, I feel myself Napolitan from Naples, but I try to act globally. So pizza, for example, that is a Napolitan product, became a global product because we can propose in the world this kind of Italian factor. And this is interesting because probably in the future, and this is normally my job is to anticipate the change, is to understand sociologically what's happening. And probably in the world today, we are thinking locally and we try to act globally. And it's a different way to think. And the tailor-made is part of this game. The tailor-made is the idea to understand the context, to personalize, for example, in industry or in design or in fashion, to personalize the difference, and to understand outside the possible answer of the people, so the desire of the people. The tailor-made dimension is normally part of the talent of the Italian companies. And this is interesting because it's the opposite of the standardization. It is much more, in economical terms, the religion of other culture, of other countries. So in this way, we can rediscover the craft culture. So the Renaissance, no, our background with the artists of the Renaissance, so from Leonardo da Vinci to Michelangelo, that are probably the star, no, in the Italian culture, but understanding that this capability to solve problems starting from a specific element to applying not just the rules, but the invention. This is for us the design thinking, the Italian design thinking, and this is part of our way to create also the aesthetics. Normally in the world, we are considered people with taste, with care in detail. So the Italian designer or fashion designer, normally as Armani or Dolce Gabbana or many others, they really take care of the detail, and they are very, very specific. And in this sense, we can consider the Italianness something that is difficult to imitate, because normally we have this capability. The Italian imprint, no, is something that is difficult to imitate. And I'm interested to present you this slide, because this is the slide that I explained to my students, the Italian students, demonstrating that frequently we don't understand our value. We do intuitively, but we don't understand how we can reinforce the Italian touch. And for this reason, I indicate, for example, that we have to understand better our role in the world. We have to integrate technology and art, that we can, in this time of crisis, of difficulties with the pandemic, for example, we have to propose our happy way to consider aesthetics that is not just luxury, but is taste. No, it's the happiness to live in this way. So the Italian way. We have to recognize the importance of this design thinking. We have relaunched the idea to invent, to reinvent, because this is normally part of our culture. But in the daily life, we are not so strategical in thinking. And for this reason, I try to explain to the students that this is our possibility. This is a possibility that is interesting for us. I wrote this book 5 years ago, The Italian Factor, and I found interesting for you because the co-author, Barbara Santoro, she's an Italian Canadian. So she was born in Vancouver with Italian parents. And when she was 18 years old, she came in Italy. And for this reason, was very interesting to discuss with her and write this book, comparing these different cultures, because at the end, we can understand better our genius loci, our specific culture and unique culture, just comparing with the other cultures. And this is a problem sometimes for the Italian people, because we don't understand so well. And in this second part of my presentation, I want to propose you some paradigms. The paradigms are not just trends, but deep change and the evolution of society. So the direction of this evolution, the unique and universal was presented before, but we have also the crucial and sustainable paradigm. For example, sustainability, you know, is becoming an interesting direction for the world, and the trust and sharing and quick and deep that are strong in Italy. And I want to really explain to you the reason why. For the unique universal, I explained it before. This is just an example. Prada, that is unique because it's very strong everywhere in terms of Italianness, can create a partnership with some Indian people, because starting from the uniqueness of the brand, we can collaborate, we can cooperate with other creative people in different countries. And this is part of our talent. Milan is, as you know, the capital of design, and many designers coming from different countries, they recognize the Italianness and they absorb this element from Italy. And for this reason, the Italian factor could be developed also by other people, not just Italians. And this is probably one of the fascinating possibilities that we have for the future. And another element that is extremely present in Italy is, as you know, probably the Italian people are the most elderly in the world with the Japanese. So we live for many years for chance. And there are some villages in Italy that at the moment are with a very old age. But starting from this element, there are many possibilities to re-elaborate this culture coming from other generations. And it's a very ironical video that demonstrates it. I have to say, and I want to give you a sociological interpretation. In Italy, the different generations, they live a lot together. As you probably know, in the Italian family, we have 3 generations and we stay a lot of time all together. And this is probably, unfortunately, it's one of the reasons why the COVID, the pandemic was so strong in Italy, because the old people stay with the other generations during the weekend, in the Sunday, in the Sunday events, and we really exchange a lot of attitudes and values between the generation, and this is part of this paradigm, the trust and sharing. The trust and sharing in Italy, it always is between people. It's the interpersonal exchange. Is not a trust in institution, but it's the trust in other people. So family, small community, or in the quarter in the city, small community of people, they live a sort of separated life. The institution in Italy is not so respected, as probably you know. Why? Because we had so many dominations, so Spain, France, Germany, and for this reason, we create this small community and we trust and share a lot locally. So the local dimension in Italy is very strong, but sometimes from the local dimension, we invent something that becomes universal. It's another way to explain the other paradigm. The trust and sharing is part of the daily life. The convivial element is part also of the invention, of the creativity of the Italians. And for this reason, it's important to understand that there are some Italian products and brands that normally are not considered Italians, as the Moleskine. Probably you know Moleskine, but maybe not all of you knows that Moleskine is an Italian brand. It's an Italian brand created by Maria Sebregondi. I know her very well. And the idea was, she's a translator. And when she translated 30 years ago, Bruce Chatwin, the British writer, she understood that the Moleskine was a French notebook sold just in a specific store in Paris. And starting from this idea, she invented the brand Moleskine. And this now it's a multinational, it's very successful everywhere. But at the end is part of the Italian idea to go through the world and to mix and match different culture, Italianizing in some terms. And this video can explain very well, and can explain also the specific way that we have in Italy to mix and match the digital and the physical. Luciano Floridi is an Italian philosopher that teach in Oxford, invented this term, the on life experience. The on life experience is the integration between the digital and the physical. Someone defined the phygital, but I found on life that is more clear, in terms of experience. And in this video, you can understand the Moleskine way to present the on life travel, the on life situation that is really part of the Italian culture. So this is interesting because the 5 senses are part of our life. We consider the priority. For this reason, the body expression, but also the sensoriality is so important. And for the same reason, we suffer so much in lockdown, because we can't go, for example, in Italy, this kind of conviviality that is part of our touch, of our life. And Italy, it's an interesting case history, because Oscar Farinetti, that is the inventor of Italy, understood 20 years ago that the idea to have an Italian experience, not just buying Italian products, but staying there and eating all together, and this sense dimension in the store that is part of the experience. So a sort of global experience 360 degrees, that was the best way to transfer the Italian food experience. And this was an unbelievable success. In New York, for example, Italy is one of the most visited place in the city, and it's Italian. So it's something very strange. And this is part of this new paradigm, that is the quick and deep paradigm. What is quick and deep? Is the idea that in Italy, the fast experience cannot sacrifice the depth of the sensoriality. So we try to combine the quick reaction, the quick dimension, the intuition, with the deep quality of life. A very recent research in 25 different countries demonstrate that Italy is considered the first, the most important country in terms of sensoriality and terms of quality of life. That is not the luxury. Luxury is much more the French approach. Also the haute couture, haute cuisine is very high. Start from the Louis XIV, from the king, no? The idea to have the quality, the maximum of quality. In Italy, the quality is accessible. The quality is the quality of our experience in the cities, in the regions, and food is probably the most clear, the clearest experience, where the fast and deep could be combined. For this reason, we don't use the fast food expression, but the fast good expression. So the possibility to combine this experience. The idea to transfer this Italian factor in other countries is very recent. It's something that economically we understood probably in the last 20 years. And every year in Italy, we can observe this growth of the export because the Italian products, the Italian brand, are more and more appreciated outside. And this is an interesting video that can explain this phenomenon.
The next wave of Italians has come to America, and they've come to party. the Italian design Fiat 500.
And this is a characteristic of the Italian design, of the Italian, of the design thinking, that normally if you think about the Italians' products are not just in luxury, but in the daily life. So it's something that we can appreciate in terms of middle markets or high middle markets, but not just in luxury. And this is exactly because we are searching in terms of paradigms, the drivers of change that I explained very synthetically. I'm sorry about it, but just to give you the idea that the unique and universal, the quick and deep, and the trust and sharing that are so strong in Italy could become some drivers for the change in the daily life. And this is interesting for the Italian companies, but also probably for other companies outside or other people understanding the direction that we are now considering for the future. And at the end, this is the last slide, that is a little bit of the demonstration that luxury is different from the excellence. If we define the Italian factor, we have probably to use the excellence definition, because what is the difference? In luxury, luxury is made for a few. The luxury is exclusive, so you have exclusivity, you have a privilege for condition in terms of economical resources. For example, the luxury is exterior, so it's status symbol. You have to demonstrate the luxury. It could be a distraction, so something that is not so near to the daily life, but something that is outside. No, it's beyond. Or the narcissistic personalization, the use of privileged material, and so on. This is not exactly the Italian factor. The Italian factor is much more on the side of the other side of the slide. So to do better than anyone else. This was the rule during the Renaissance. No? So Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci fighting one against the other to demonstrate how I'm the better, no? In original terms. The intensity is more important than the distinction. So the intensity is to create something completely unique and completely different. And I think that at the end, the most important, the final message is that in the daily life, Italianness can make the difference. And for this reason, it's not just for the Italians. And I repeat, many people coming in Italy or studying Italy, the Italian culture, the Italian language, they can absorb something of this culture. So in some way, they can become Italians, not just psychologically or culturally. And this is probably the most fascinating dimension for us. The problem, the real problem for the Italians is that we are not conscious about it. We are not so aware that the Italian way and the Italian life is really something unique that other people can really accept and can appreciate and can absorb. And the other message is that we can probably create a community where these values could be developed in a different way. So the elastic mind is part of our culture. It's not rigidly separated, but is intergenerational, probably also international in terms of universality. And for this reason, I hope that this night for me and in this afternoon for you, this could be an inspiration also to to do better something and to use the Italian example to do something in a better way in your culture, no? Because this is probably the most interesting and fascinating exercise that we can do all together. So I'm really very happy to propose you this this material, and I hope that it's clear for you. And I'm available for your questions. And with Arianna, we decided that now we have some time to create a dialogue. Anyway, thank you so much to listen to me and to follow this kind of Italian passion.
Thank you, Francesco, for this wonderful presentation of the different characteristics of the Italian factor and how they affect not only Italy, but also the rest of the world. I will now open the floor to the questions from our guests. There was already a question in the chat about fast food. So what about fast food? If you would like to, to comment on, the importance of, fast food, of slow food, slow food and the importance of slow food as a movement.
Yes, the slow food was created by an Italian group of people and was exactly the idea to have this the time to appreciate the taste, and also the awareness that probably the quality is not just in the preparation of the food, but also in the quality of the ingredients. So there is a new partnership between agriculture, so the way to produce the ingredients, and the way to cook and to combine the different ingredients. That is part of the Italian tradition in food. Carlo Petrin, that was one of the founder, starting from this idea of the slow food, that was initially in the starting point was to fight against the fast food. So the idea to be too much frenetic, to don't take the time to appreciate food. No, this was the idea. But then the evolution of the slow food is really, for example, the movement Terra Madre. The movement Terra Madre is the idea to rediscover the dignity of the agriculture activity, and to and Italy, that we have seen as an example, is the commercial application of the slow food. No, it's the idea to consume altogether the quality of food, but in a very accessible place, in a very accessible way, but also rediscovering the roots and rediscovering the quality of the process, that is not just the beautiful final preparation of the food, but also the quality of the ingredients.
Thank you, Francesco. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand or jump in and just ask, just unmute yourselves, and you can ask all the questions you would like to ask directly to Francesco.
Sure.
Laura is asking in the chat, would you agree the Italian factor has bridged both luxury and premium excellence? It has Ferrari and Fiat.
Yes, exactly.
Versace
so the idea
and Zara, Versace and Zara, yes.
Yes, Ferrari and Fiat, particularly some models of Fiat, that was the 500 Fiat, that was the first model in the 60s that was the icon of the Italian boom, when Italy was probably in the happiest moment, economically speaking, and was the possibility to give to the Italians a car. It was a revolution for us, and so for this case, it's the innovation that in the 500, that was the utilitaria concept. So something that is for always, but it's excellent because it's very innovative. And there is the designer of this model of the 500, della 500, that was an engineer coming from the aeronautical sector. No, so as the Vespa, no, for example, it's another example. So products very innovative, but accessible for the normal people, and this is the part of the excellent. On the other side, you have Ferrari, that is the most famous brand in the automotive, and it's the luxury because it's really very, very, very high positioned. But Italy can produce both. No? So the idea that you can combine the excellence with the luxury, and this is really the Italian factor. The same you have with Armani. Armani was the fashion designer that invented the line for young people that is much more accessible, Emporio Armani, but using the same vision in terms of quality, but with different market positioning. And this is really part of the Italian way to consider the beauty.
We have another question from Enid. Have you seen the imitation of the Italian factor in other cultures, and whether they are successful in achieving the same result?
Very interesting question, because the Italian products, the Italian brands, as you can imagine, are imitated everywhere. No? And we have invented one expression to define this process, that is the Italian sounding. Sometimes, for example, in Korea, in Asia particularly, or in China, they use Italian name for their products just because the Italian sound, it's a value for them. But I have to say that we work with many companies, Italian companies, that are very worried about, no? Because it's normal, no? And but we demonstrate that this is a marketing for free for the Italian companies, because in these countries, people knows exactly that these are imitations and not the original product. And when they can buy the real Italian product, they do. So it's not really a big problem. It's a way to give to the Italian culture, to the Italian production, a very high perception. And when the people can, they really buy the real Italian authenticity.
So you wouldn't consider it a form of cultural appropriation. Instead, it's like a cultural enhancing to a certain extent. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. We have another question from Renato. Do you have any thoughts on the Italian factor as it's expressed in the world of politics? From the outside, it appears that Italy's political system is stagnant. Or is the elastic mind hidden in its inner workings?
Oh, this is really, in this moment in Italy, it's a very appropriate question. As I explained it before, unfortunately, the Italian factor functions very well in the daily life, in the personal interchanges, but doesn't function in institutions. So institutions and politics, evidently, in Italy is a sort of separated world. And I agree completely that it's stagnant, that is not innovative, and very defensive. So the power is managed in Italy not in innovative way and with open mind. And this is a sort of schizophrenic dynamics, no? Because in Italy, also the discussion, if you discuss with your friends on some political experience, and you have different opinions, at the end with a wine glass you solve the problem. So the strongness of the daily life, the strongness of the personal relationship is the antidote of the problem of the conflict in politics. For this reason, I say that Italy is the country of bar and squares, so piazze, bar, places where people can discuss, but at the end they stay in a very warm contact. So the human side is really very strong. But in politics, at the moment, we didn't solve really this problem. So it's another dimension. I'm sorry about it, but that's it.
There is another question. Please tell us a bit about the hummingbird strategy.
Yes, it's probably in Google or in the web. They found this reference. Yes, I wrote a book, the humming strategy, La strategia del colibrì, in the 2001, so exactly 20 years ago. And this was the idea. This was the final message also that I repeat and explain better. Is the idea that also starting from the Italian factor, we have not to defend our identity of Italians, but we have to propose, and we have to contaminate, we have to pollinate the other cultures with our talents, and vice versa. We have to receive. But the history of Italy is exactly this, no? Because we take also in food, we take tomatoes, we take peppers from other countries, and we created the pizza. No, we created something that is very Italian, but contaminating and exchanging the best of each country, exactly as the hummingbird do, pollinating flowers and pollinating and jumping from one flower to the other flower. So this was the idea. I defined it the other side of globalization. It's a little bit of the unique and universal. If you have something that is unique and is particularly strong and beautiful, you have to propose to the other people and to receive the talent of the other people, creating this kind of happy community that can, and we don't need to defend our identity. The identity is a system of relationship. It's not something static, no? So our identity is something that is dynamic, and the hummingbird can help us to do it.
Thank you, Francesco. We have another question from Nicholas. Would you draw a parallel between the Italian factor beyond consumerism with that of Italians accepting immigrants from all over the world and comfortably settling, effectively changing Italy's society to one of a mosaic?
Yes, this is really in our history. Particularly in the South Italy, no, I repeat, I am from Naples. I'm proud to come from Naples. But in the south of Italy, in the center of the Mediterranean Sea, you can imagine how much the immigrants were part of our identity, and how this was a richness with a lot of conflict, because it's clear. But on the other side, with a lot of happy meetings between. So I'm really very sad about the present situation, where we don't accept, and we have created also politically this kind of distance between other cultures and people that want to come in Italy. I hope that it's just a transition, and that we can really rediscover our capability to accept people. And Naples is a big place where all the different cultures arrived in the past, from the north, from east, west, everywhere. And for this reason, I think this was a richness for us.
We have a question from Lenny. Has COVID affected the Italian factor in other countries?
You can repeat, please?
Has COVID affected the Italian factor? I don't know whether in Italy or in other countries, in our countries. So the way perhaps the Italian factor has been perceived in our countries has changed due to the COVID situation, due to the COVID pandemic.
Okay. During the pandemic, I think that we everywhere, but particularly in Italy, we felt a sort of difficulty to recreate this, for example, the conviviality, no? So occasions where we can exchange experience. So we were really in lockdown, staying at home, and this was very difficult from the Italians. But now I think that this could be an opportunity, because at the end, what we desire, we desire what is missed. So we desire what was our normal life, and probably now we can understand better the value of the normality, sort of, and the same I think will be in other countries. So I think that for the next, I hope next year, 22 probably, Italy and the Italian products could be a possible gratification also for the other people, because the Italian products and the Italian culture is so loved in other countries that probably in the Renaissance, no, la rinascita, the Renaissance for the future, Italy could have an interesting role, no, redefining the happiness in the daily life. So eating the Italian products and dressing the Italian, so using this talent that we have in taste and in happiness in the daily life to gratify people that suffered a lot during the pandemic. So in this last book that you and thank you to remember La Rinascita dell'Italia, the Italian Renaissance, I indicate this direction for the Italian companies, for example, to prepare themselves to launch and to diffuse the Italianness and the Italian touch and the Italian happiness in other countries that probably will be ready to accept, because they want to really gratify themselves after the pandemic. So I hope so. It's also a possible hope.
Please always jump in if you want to interrupt me, because I read the questions in the chat, but if you want to ask Francesco a question, always raise your hand or just jump in when you interrupt me when you want. There is also a question from a scientist who is asking, how is the situation now, for example, in Milan, which is the capital of, of scientific research, and at what stage are we at the moment? So are they accepting new scientists? Because I've seen there is a lot of movement now. Milan has become very dynamic in the last few years. If you could talk a little bit more about that and how it is accepting of scientists from abroad as well.
Yes, Milano was very brilliant, starting with the Expo. Expo was in 2015, so 5 years ago. It was really a sort of new renaissance for Milan, no? And in 5 years before the pandemic, before COVID, tourism, for example, in Milan was more or less as in Rome. So it was unbelievable, no, for the Milan, that was a business city and was not so attractive for the people outside. And really, I live in Milan. I'm from Naples, but I live in Milan, and this was really a very interesting movement. Effectively, many people from different countries, scientists, designers, professionals, considered Milan as a new capital for the innovation. Now, as you know, Milan was really very strong, attacked by COVID. So it was a very difficult year. But I see that now, I think that step by step, this could be a possible reaction. The new government with Mario Draghi and with many experts that as Roberto Cingolani or Colau. So Mario Draghi created a group of people that are not politics, but professionals, very brilliant, very appreciated also outside, that can, I hope, help the ecological transition. Roberto Cingolani is the Minister of Ecological Transition, but also the technological innovation. No? Colau, that is a top manager that worked in Omnitel, Vodafone, can really help to create a digital renaissance in Italy, and Milan can be another time the point of reference. So it's ongoing process, but I'm optimistic about it.
We have another question from Nicholas. Do you think the current pandemic has changed globalization as we know it? Has or will reshape how the world imports and exports goods? Italy being a huge exporter to the rest of the world, how do you see this new potential paradigm going forward?
Great. Yes, this is, I think, a very nice opportunity because so globalization is changed because many people understood that it's not avoidable. So the global dimension today, as the virus demonstrated, is something that we have to accept. But on the other side, we can change the direction of the globalization. So that is a little bit of a paradigm of unique and universal that I have explained before. So before, globalization was a sort of standardization, Americanization, no? Something that was the same everywhere, a sort of new colonization. I think that today, the local dimension was considered very important, but not in the defensive terms. So just closing, as in Italy, for example, with the Lega political party, that was the idea that we have to defend ourselves from the Americans, from the Chinese. So we have to stay in our small village. So this is over now. This is over. Sovranismo, it's over, because simply because it's not efficient. So it's not possible to defend the borders when you have a COVID experience. But on the other side, I think that it's very clear that we have to accept the idea that each country has a responsibility and can participate in a sort of common good. Edgar Morin, that is my favorite sociologist, defined a destiny community. So the planet is una comunità di destino, is a community with the same destiny, and we can't save ourselves alone. We can save ourselves if we contribute using our resources and using a different mind style. I think that today also the political change in US with Biden and not Trump, but also in Europe, I think that is more and more clear that we have to recreate a community, a global community, redefining the global exchange, but taking responsibility, each country, for the role that can play in this new game. So it's a long discussion, but anyway, just to give you my opinion, I think that globalization will be not the same after the COVID.
I think we are at the end of the questions on the chat. I don't know whether there are other questions that you would like to ask directly to Francesco. It has been a very long Q&A, but I knew that your talk would trigger a lot of questions. So I'm sure. There is another question here. Sorry. Starbucks announced 2 years ago about their move into Italy. How will or can, in your view, American coffee succeed or even be accepted by a country known internationally for its coffee espresso?
I worked on it because I have some clients as Illy Cafe or Lavazza that that are very worried about it. But I think that it's not a problem. We have Starbucks today in Milan, the first Starbucks, and it's a completely different experience. It's very high level experience. It's not as the Starbucks in US. It's a different project. Very, I think, well thought. So
yes.
Yes, and I think that this could be a not substitutive because this is impossible. So the coffee culture in Italy is so strong that really it's another experience. But the Starbucks experience, but the same is for McDonald's and many other food experience, no, coming from US. It's another experience that could be appreciated for different reasons. So another time we can combine these experiences. This is exactly the hummingbird strategy applied in the reality.
Thank you again, Francesco, for this wonderful presentation. You have received a lot of thank you from people here in the chat and all congratulating you. So we are very happy to have you, and we really thank you for the time and the fact that it's now 3:20, 3:15 in the night, in the early morning for you in Milan. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. And
it was really a pleasure, and also the questions were very interesting. And in the hummingbird strategy perspective, I like so much your capability to be reactive.